In today's Delta Force video, I have a viewer requested build for all of you with the K437. So the request comes from Sanafatima, and they requested that I put the Whisper tactical suppressor on there as well as the 60 round mag. So I acquiesced to the request and cooked something up for all of you. So we're going to start off with a blank slate here. First things first, the K437 doesn't have great range, and I kind of wanted to make something that's a little bit better at playing with its strengths, so close quarter-ish engagements. So I chose to go for the K437 Broken Blade Short Barrel. That gives us extra control, extra handling, cost of stability, and extra accuracy. I felt like this one just had too big of a penalty for the handling, and it didn't increase the range all that much to make it worth it. So I went with this one. Then obviously I put the Whisper tactical suppressor on here, which gives us plus 2 meters in range, extra control, extra stability, cost of handling, and accuracy. So go ahead and equip that. For the foregrip, I tried a few different ones here, but I really want to control that horizontal recoil, so I chose to go for the Secret Order Bevel foregrip. Now this one does increase your vertical recoil, but that reduction in horizontal recoil is very nice, and it's much easier to control the vertical than the horizontal. Then for the magazine, obviously we're going with the 60 round drum mag. Big cost in handling here, but we're going to make up for some of that. For the rear grip, I chose to go with the AR heavy tower grip because I wanted to bump up the stability as much as possible, because the weapon did shake quite a bit if the stability was too low. So go ahead and install that. For the stock, I went with the Skeleton Sniper stock, which is just probably one of the best stocks in Delta Force, to be honest. We're getting a nice bump in handling here with +8 and a nice bump in stability at +6. So go ahead and install that. For the optic, I went with just an RDS, considering we're using this weapon at, not terribly long ranges. So go ahead and equip that. And then for all of these three, I chose to go with the KC Hound handguard panel because I wanted to bump up that stability even more. But you could potentially go with something else if you feel like some of the other stats are a little bit lacking, but I chose to go with 3 of these. Then for the calibration, we're going to start off with the barrel here, considering we're using it in mostly C-cube engagements. I went plus 50 grams to get extra firing stability because it was quite low, and then negative 10 millimeters to get extra ADS speed because, again, we're not using this weapon at really long ranges because just the max damage range is not crazy. For the foregrip, we're going to go with plus 20 grams and negative 20 millimeters, extra ADS movement speed, extra control. For the rear grip, we're going with plus 50 grams and negative 20 millimeters to get extra hipfire aim speed and extra control. For the stock, we're going with plus 50 grams and negative 2 slots to get extra control, extra ADS movement speed. And then finally, for the optic, we're going with negative 20 millimeters in eye relief. Now looking at the stats of the weapon, so we can see it does 24 damage to the chest, 22 to the stomach, and then 21 to all the limbs, was 45 damage to the head. It's probably one of the weirdest damage models, not gonna lie, just because it does different damage to each individual body part, well, at least like thorax, stomach, and all of the limbs. Usually it's like, well, thorax and stomach have the same damage, and then the limbs are usually lower, but the K437 actually got nerfs like shortly after release, I think like in a mid-season patch or something. Not entirely sure why, because I don't think it's like up there as one of the meta weapons, but it's at the end of the day they decide what they're balancing. For the control here, we did correct a lot of it. As you can see, there's a nice little bend here. We corrected some of it, still a slight bend, but it is a lot easier to control, and this is why I put more stability and increased the firing stability, because this was at 1.04x I think, and it just felt very shaky. For the handling, we lost 6, but it's still respectable at 344 milliseconds, considering that we have the 60 round mag. For the stability, we gained quite a bit here, so we have really stable lens stability while firing, which is really nice. And then finally, for the accuracy, wasn't really a main focus for the build, but it's not too bad. Now for the level required to use this build, it's the last one. You have to level up the K437 all the way up to 74 in order to unlock the 60 round drum mag. Now I did try to use this at a little bit longer ranges. I had made a build with like the longer barrel. I just wasn't liking it. The ADS time was just too long, and really it's not the strength of the K437. It's much better in those medium to CQB-ish range engagements, so I just chose to go with the Broken Blade short barrel for this specific build. And honestly, if there's one thing that I would say I would probably change, is not using the 60 rounder. I've been trying to stray away from the larger magazines just because they give you so much penalty, and it makes your reload time that much longer. And honestly, most of the time I find myself reloading even potentially when I don't really need to, so it doesn't really make sense for me personally to have that larger magazine. But I did want to fulfill the request from Sanafatima, who I appreciate, asked me to or recommend that I make this build with those specific requests for the Whisper Tactical Suppressor and the 60-round mag. I still did have a lot of fun. I don't use the K437 all that much just because it kind of fell off after they nerfed it, but it still is very performant because it does have a pretty decent fire rate. So the weapon share code will be in the description down below, as well as in top pinned comment. Shout out again to Sanafatima for requesting that I make this specific build with those parameters. If you would like to see a build featured in an upcoming video, please leave it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out some Battlefield 6 videos that I've been releasing. It's going to be mostly like half and half now because just Battlefield is, I'm just a long-time franchise fan, honestly, and I've been having an absolute blast, but I still want to make content for all of the ones that follow me that play mostly Delta Force. But yeah, in any case, I'll leave you a few highlight clips of me using a specific build. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.
They won't notice a thing.